Hi, good afternoon. You know who I am. I am recording this video. I don't know whether I'm putting the right screen on because I haven't got anyone who can help me by telling me whether the screen is working or not. So unfortunately, I cannot be in person today, which is actually tomorrow for me. The reason is that I have got to be present at a funeral of a friend of mine who died a little bit early. So sorry, enough of that. So what Diane and I decided that I would run this lecture online. I would record it, and you would watch it in class, and Diane will be available to answer your question if there is anything that does not make sense. Here I'm really praying that the slide will move, and then if not, I'll have to work at night and do it again. But so starting the presentation, the learning outcomes is really about looking at marketing as part of a team. In other terms, in what way marketing will interact with other functions. So can it be is it possible to work together? And is there any chance that sometimes conflict can arise? So that's really what we want to do. And of course, this integration between function has got only one purpose, which is to create value and also create competitive advantage. So that's really what we're talking about. Can we work as a team to create competitive advantage? So first of all, I'll start with a case study, which is a plastic manufacturing company based in this, of which I won't say the name. This has come from my experience with the university, where we had this company based in this, which specialized in manufacturing small components. So it was a contract manufacturer. And they weren't doing that well, possibly because they were a contract manufacturer, who, of course, sometimes may not be that profitable. But in order to advise them, the university has set up a knowledge transfer partnerships, which was led by a professor called Nicholas, although that's not the real name. And we had an associate called Ardeshir in the company, who was basically someone with a recent degree. Was very clever. He was a very clever guy. Really what they were focusing on was enhancing the efficiency of production methods. But after a while, he was not doing very well. So the managing director was a little bit like underwhelmed. And so myself and another colleague called Chris were parachuted in to try to save it and try to see whether the project could be valuable to the customer. And the first comment that we made was, you can be as efficient as you want to make the products, but if you cannot sell them, then that's not going to work. And that was an important consideration. And so really we shifted the emphasis of the project from the manufacturing side and the production processes to marketing. But there was a lot of conflict in that because, for example, we were in conflict with the finance department, who didn't want to spend money in marketing, with the production department. What we come up with, we were saying, well, why don't you look at very high value applications such as in pharmaceuticals with special packs, and also we were talking about things like agriculture. We talking about electronics, so something that was a bit more expensive than what they were involved in. So by doing that, there was a lot of conflict. So that's where we saw that working with other functions is not necessarily easy, especially because in a small contract manufacturing, marketing wasn't really that appreciated as it were. So for them, we were people who were like parasites, so that because these people were working with their hands and making products, and we were not doing anything. So we're just talking, and so they didn't exactly like us. So moving from there, I want to just expand a little bit about where there are a lot of clashes and but also beautiful collaboration and cooperation between marketing and other functions. And new product development is an example. So as you can see, I got there a process. You may be familiar with that. So it's got some stages, starting from idea screening, idea generation, idea screening, business analysis, development, so creating basically prototype. Then you see whether it actually works with the test marketing, and then you commercialize. Of course, if the test marketing is successful. And what's important in here is that you have got team working on developing a new product, and the teams are always multifunctional. So it's not only marketing; it's a number of functions like a new product development and engineering and finance all working together, and they got to collaborate successfully. This is the representation of the same, but in a cyclical way, because what that tells you is like you go round and round. So you start from coming up with an idea, and then you basically screen the idea, you test the concept, and you analyze the business from the financial perspective, and so on and so forth. And then you may actually go to the beginning. In other words, the final product may change. You can actually come out with a different product. And I got the same slide with more detail here. So what that tells you is that at every stage there, for example, with idea generation, you have got marketing being very active and coming out with ideas themselves, because the ideas sometimes may come from consumers that come out with ideas, and then you got the idea screening. Sometimes that could be legal. In other words, is a product legal or not? And I'll show you an example in a minute. Of course, you need to understand what consumers think, whether consumers will like it or not. And then prototyping is very important. That's where, of course, you need engineering to do prototyping. And marketers will say, well, it should be pink or it should be blue. So in other words, maybe the marketers have a quite aesthetic input. Then adding a little bit more detail, that shows you where the point of the interfaces, shall we say, or the point of contact and also friction are. So as you develop the concept, you got research and development and marketing people interacting. But as you go ahead, you got legal people, research and development people. Of course, when going to the viability, you got finance, accounting, and marketing working together, because they need to understand whether what the customer want is actually profitable, i.e. viable. And then you got a production department coming up with a prototype. But of course, the prototype is one thing and it's one off. But then you need to come up with a production schedule. So you need to find out a process by which you can manufacture the product in large quantities. And again, that's really where there is a lot of collaboration between various fields. So talking about practice, I got the example of my study with Rebus, where we came out with this pilot. It was only a pilot in collaboration with Maxicosi, i.e. Dorel, and NCT and Century. So there, as you can see, we had an idea screening, and a very important aspect of the idea screening was the legal aspect. So when I say legal is very important, in this case, because we were renting this product, legally, the organization needed to have a consumer credit license, without which they would be committing a crime. So that was an important component. And then, of course, we did a lot of workshops with manufacturers and partners. We analyzed the market. And we came up with a yes, but we had to design it in a way from the financial perspective that didn't force us to have a consumer credit license. Then the concept testing was mainly on talking to the consumers. Do consumers actually like these things? Would they actually buy it? And then you got an identification of the people who are likely to buy first, i.e. innovators and early adopters. And also we had to find out who the opinion leaders would be, so people that would facilitate the adoption. Test marketing, when we actually decided to go, we come out with a package and we tested with consumers. Also, we talked to consumers when they were already using the products. And then we did a business and financial analysis. And what emerged is that there was an attrition, so that was products disappearing or being damaged, and also costs like logistics that were not originally being forecasted, and that resulted in the service not being scaled up. So that's why we do pilots. And this slide tells you other things about how the different departments operate. So as you can see, you got a lot of collaboration at every level, and you got also a lot of friction because, of course, marketing say, well, yes, the way the consumer wants it should be, but in the finance department, people say, well, it costs much more to design it this way, and therefore the customer needs to just not take it exactly as he wants. One important partnership is between marketing and engineering. I got some slides later where I explain how marketing and design intermingle a lot. So they drive each other. And design, let's not forget, is in a way an engineering function, because when you design a product and make prototypes, you're actually putting this in the hands of the engineers. And this slide shows you what the various the operations, the various functions, responsibilities are. So as you can see, marketing really looks at the market, see what is there as a competition, see what consumers do at the moment to resolve that problem, and therefore why is the new product needed. And then perhaps look at who could distribute it, how it can be sold. So a number of things that they need. And as you can see, that's where practice theory comes important, because you can understand the practices of consumers in their own life, and therefore you know what to expect from the consumers. Operations, of course, they got to come up with designing the process, whereby finance needs to work out the costs and the profitability. So actually see whether the product is feasible or not and whether it should be done. Operations, they will come up with a number of ideas for designs and also basically come up with cost of production. And that's a collaboration between finance and operations. So as you can see, although each of these, of course, there will be a project manager. Although each of these departments are collaborating, so each of them have got their specific expertise and responsibilities, but they got to collaborate a lot, and inevitably there is going to be some sort of friction. Area responsibilities, but also collaboration. So another case study. So this was a sort of experience that I did myself when I was a consultant, so not with the university, although then university came in as a late stage. So this was a company called Microcircuit Engineering that at some point was bought by British Aerospace. And they were basically manufacturers of ASICs, or application-specific integrated circuits, and also field program of gate arrays, or FPGAs. I don't know what they are. So basically, what they are electronics products. They are like circuits that you can use them for specific operation in a product. Really, the company was specialized in defense, so missile and things like that. And they were, first of all, marketing was really not that important because, defense, they would get contracts from that, they would bid. So they didn't have marketing as we know it. But they started to be a little bit worried about this over-reliance. So in other words, with defense, if they lost the contract, what would happen to them? And therefore, I was involved with, first of all, internationalizing the company. So we saw potential foreign markets, but also what else can you do? So could it be that they could work in domestic appliances or electromedical products like testers, various other health applications in consumer electronics? So importantly, that was very difficult because I was an external resource. So there was a limit to the power that I had and the authority. And that became harder because as the products that we were looking at were high volumes, so if there was some manufacturing, that would have been farmed out outside. It was contracted in particular to a company called Nexus Electronics based in Malaysia. And that meant that, my agency and authority as a marketer was even less because I was talking to companies in Malaysia who were not listening to me at all. So that's an example that shows you how, first of all, some companies may have a very small marketing function and how difficult it is to work together. So I show you a lot of practice, and now I want to talk about some theory for a change. So I want to talk about what is called the industrial network approach, which can be used to understand what we just explained. So the idea of collaborating and integrating across function. So what happens in a company is that internal networks are established. And these internal networks, for example, might include a champion from marketing, a champion from NPD, new product development, and a champion from operation, and one from accounting. So they can operate together and integrate. Of course, there may be quite a lot of function. And so what they're doing, they're actually creating structure all together. So they basically got activities that they perform together in order to collect resources and also produce them. So they can actually collect components to make a new product. And also you got actors, which are really the people that work in the company, organizing structure. One thing that often goes wrong, there is the issue of trust, whether people trust each other or not, but also power is another aspect. So if there is a big divergence of power, say the finance department is very powerful, then collaboration might be a little bit difficult because some of the players might have their wings clipped. And then there is also what is called relationship atmosphere. So is there be a nice environment in the company, so within the company, or is it going to be a little bit toxic, which makes creativity a little bit more problematic? So that's just a sort of theoretical approach that shows you, you got to create a network within the company, and the elements are the activities that people perform together, the resources that they use, and the actors, so who does what. And that is what produces the collaboration that eventually comes up in value and competitive advantage. But to make it more complicated, this model also expands across companies. So it can involve two companies working together. And as you can see, the various activities within a company are linked with the activities of another company. And same with resources. So companies can invest in each other, for example, and actors, i.e. officers from different companies, sorry about the typo, they can become quite connected socially and work together. So it's a situation where you got companies coming up. So the example in this case was with Rebus when we work with Dorel and Central Logistics and NCT. But it's quite is the norm in business that companies work together. But then you move further to a network. So that's where the group example work together, and you got all these activities and resources and actors becoming much more developed. So you got activity patterns, resource constellations, and webs of actors. So if you can imagine all the actors linked together. And again, as in the intercompany issue, you could have a good atmosphere, so companies that get on well together, but also different balances of power, lack of trust, and in this case, when we're looking at multiple companies, you got the need to adapt, and when these things do not work, so if you haven't got the trust, if you haven't got a good relationship atmosphere, and you got too much power divergence and difference, so the balance of power is not even, then it might be that these collaborations will fail. They won't be successful. So that's a little theory which is called the industrial networking approach, which help you to see how marketing can interact within the company with other functions and outside the company with the various functions of the external partners. That's the way marketing works. It works very much as a network. And that's really what we do in terms of how do we develop the resource. So first of all, one of the issues is that a company is basically doing things the way they do it normally, the habitual way. When you start to introduce new ways of doing things, such as new resources, say that you change materials because you want to use a recycled material, there would be a lot of stress and a lot of resistance to that. And that's where I'm talking there about friction, where you got various partners, various actors within the system that basically, they got not very good arguments. And that's what is called heaviness by Atkinson as Neota. So you saw a reference in the first box. So heaviness is when you made a lot of investments in something. So you got lots of resources, you got lots of activities, you invested in a type of product or a type of machinery. You also train your staff. So everyone does things in a certain way. And when you start to innovate and bring new resources and new activities, the heaviness means that it's very, very difficult to change. It's like a big resistance in the system. So it's like a sort of, you can call it obduracy, which is like inertia, but it's very, very structural. So that's linked to all these collaborations that we were mentioning earlier. So the next step, unfortunately, I cannot ask you whether you got any questions, but of course, I guess Diane can stop and see whether you got any questions at this time. But then I want to talk about design and marketing, because design and marketing really are married, because for example, you come up with a shampoo and you got to create a bottle which is attractive and also practical as well, like the shampoo bottle you attach to somewhere which they've been discontinued to my chagrin. And so these two are actually collaborating a lot, which means that there is a big interface and collaboration between engineering and marketing. And sometimes designers are more architects than engineers, but really it's an engineering function. So you got lots of design elements. For example, should a product be pink, and which product should be pink? And also you need to see how people, how heavy it is, how it feels. Is it rough? Is it smooth? Or whatever. Is it a form, a shape that may be appreciated by people? So there are lots of examples, like the harmony, the balance, the way they work together, the various parts. So this is completely different from marketing. However, marketing is, of course, very much involved, because I need to find out how many people like a product to be pink. So I need to ask questions as a marketer, and also I need to understand what does pink mean. So what are the meanings that are conveyed by making a certain product in pink? And that's where I will interact with the design people. And as you can see, think about cars, think about fashion. Can you actually separate design from marketing? Not very easy, because the two are really, really linked together big time. And so sometimes it's the design that rules, because you may actually design a product which is, the sellability of the product is all on the shape, like a product that you can lift easily. It's got a nice handle, it's got a certain consistency, and so on and so forth. Of course, the financial side is about how expensive is to produce the perfect car, and is a perfect car what you actually should be involved with. So that's why you got design and marketing conniving, and perhaps the financial people may put a break to it. And as you can see, the design need to convey things like the hedonic and emotional benefits. So do you like this product in terms of what you feel it projects about you? And therefore, from that perspective, the value is created very often by the design itself. And design should also convey semiotic value, which means what are the meanings, the expressions, what it says about the user. So as you can see, the link with marketing is really intimate, because so as a marketer, I know what sort of meanings a buyer associated with a car. You got independence, you got reliability, you got freedom, and I need to share these things with the designer. I had a lot of conversation. One of my colleagues called Fabrizio is a designer, and sometimes we don't know whether he is more, knowledgeable of the various values and the various meanings that the design conveys than me. That I'm supposed to do to find out about this particular aspects. So that means you got to have a very, very good interrelationship, and a good harmony between the engineering people and designers and the marketeers. What I got here is a few examples of products where the design is actually the value. So the way the product is shaped, and even the way it feels, and the way actually it looks like, as opposed to what you can do with it, it generates the value. So as you can see, you got interiors, which can be designed by putting together a number of individual products. You got bathrooms, so that's, as you know, there are lots of Italian companies that do bathrooms and other environments like that. As you can see, the design there is everything. You got cutlery, you got cuisine. So in other words, you can actually, if you go to a restaurant, some luxury restaurants, they are organized in a way that what you see is actually more important than what you taste. So the aesthetics are very important. So that's really a designer job. And then you got where you associate the design and the the marketing with a belief system. So what actually the product can do for you. Perhaps I'll start the YouTube. I'll share it when I finish. So I summarize because I don't know how to come back, but perhaps I can do it anyway because that's the summary. So let's start this link and see whether I can share it. Let me stop. Let me stop it. So I'm gonna stop. Oh, come on, stop. Now I understand what's going on. So I'm gonna do. Oh no.